Hello friends, in this video we will solve some problems based on signals. Let us begin. First question is appeared on the screen. Let x of t and y of t are as shown below. It is known that y of t is k times x of at plus b. The numerical value of k dot a dot b equal to. So as you can see in this problem, x of t and y of t are given. Looking at the figures of x of t and y of t, we'll try to establish relation between y of t and x of t. So we would be expressing in fact y of t in terms of x of t in this form. And once we know what is the value of k, what is the value of a, and what is the value of b, then we will take a product and then we will write the final answer. So let us see what we can do. So what is given? Let me just write it again. Y of t is equal to k times x of at plus b. We know that what is the job of this k? This k basically alters the amplitude. Is that right? So as you can see, the original value or original amplitude of x of t is 4 and new amplitude of y of t is -1. So how do we get k? It's very simple. See, so it happens like this. I would write -1 as a new amplitude is equal to old amplitude, which is 4 multiplied with k. So we don't know what is the value of k. So what is -1? -1 is a new amplitude, which is equal to 4. 4 means it is old amplitude multiplied with k. Is that right? In that case, as you can see, k is equal to simply -1 by 4. So it is quite simple. K is equal to -1 by 4. So since we had to take a product of k into a into b, we got what is the value of k. Is that right? Now, similarly, we can also get a. What is a? A is basically a scaling factor. So what I'm doing, I can write y of t is equal to k times x of, as you can see, what is given over here, it is at plus beta. In fact, it is not beta here, it is b. It is at plus b. So you know that we always make t coefficient free. So I can write a times t plus b by a. Is that right? So it clearly means that a is a scaling factor. This a is a scaling factor. And if you remember, scaling factor by standard practice or standard formula, we write like this. It is old width upon new width. Very simple. This is what I already taught you, how to calculate a scaling factor. So let us determine what is the old width. Old width means width of x of t, and once this x of t is modified, then it becomes y of t. So width of y of t would be considered as a new width, and width of x of t would be considered as old width. So as you can see, old width is 8 and new width is 2. Is that right? So old width is 8, new width is 2. It clearly means scaling factor is 4. So value of a is equal to 4. We have to take product of k, a as well as b. So what is not known to me is b. Is that right? So I'll try to figure it out how to get b now. So what I'll do over here, I'll just copy previous x of t here. It is like this, present from -4 to +4, having amplitude as 4. This is your x of t. Is that right? And after modification, it has become y of t. Y of t, they have provided us like this. It is present from -2 to 0, and the new amplitude is -1. So this is what they have given to us. So x of t it's somehow modified into y of t. And relation between y of t and x of t, that is mathematical relation, is already given, which is y of t is equal to k times x of at plus b. Or I can write k times x of, I can take a common because I want to make t coefficient free. What remains inside is t plus b by a. Is that right? And if you remember, we always follow left to right approach. Is that right? So obviously after applying this approach, I'll be getting new lower limit as -2 and new higher limit as 0. Is that right? So what I'm doing is, so when we apply this left to right approach, first of all, we do scaling. Is that right? And after that, we apply shifting. So here, if it is plus b by a, we do minus b by a. See, after such modification, we know that this becomes a new lower limit which gets modified as -2, and this becomes higher limit which is 0 in this case. Is that right? So what I'll do, I'll equate this new higher limit to equal to 0. So now I can write 4 by a minus b by a equal to 0, or I can write 4 minus b equal to 0, or I can write b equal to how much? It is 4. So now I got the value of b also, which is equal to 4. Since we want to have product of k into a into b, I'll write like this: k into a into b. K is minus 1 by 4, a is 4, and b is also 4. So here 4 4 gets cancelled. What is remaining is -4. So what is the final product? It is -4. So I'm sure you have understood this example. Let us move to the next question. A signal x of t is 0 for t less than 3. Let y of t is a signal given below, and as you can see, y of t expression is given in terms of x of t, where y of t is equal to x of 1 minus t plus x of 2 minus t. Find constraint on y of t where y of t is guaranteed to be 0. It is GATE 2008 question. We'll see how to deal with this. What we know about x of t, that it is equal to 0 for t less than 3. But we really don't know what is the shape of x of t. What we really know is when x of t is 0 and when x of t is non-zero. Is that right? When they tell you that x of t is 0 for t less than 3, it means x of t is present only after t equal to 3. So which I can at least figure it out like this. So I'm trying to get my x of t. Let me tell you, shape of x of t is not a matter here. What matters is just to show that it is 0 for t less than 3. I mean, this is 3. So x of t is something which is present after 3. So it is clear to you now, for t less than 3, as you can see, x of t is absolutely 0. Is that right? So this is nature of x of t. And now y of t is given, which is sum of modification of x of t only. So we will see what is first modification. Now the signal is x of 1 minus t. Can I write 1 minus t as minus t plus 1? It is one and the same thing. Is that right? And again, we make sure that coefficient of t is always positive 1. So we'll try to again make t coefficient free. In order to do so, we take -1 out. So what remains inside is t minus 1. Now from given x of t, I'll try to get this x of -1 of t minus 1 signal. So we follow this approach, right? That is left to right approach. In first case, what I get as -1 as scaling factor. You know that when it is so, that is -1 is a scaling factor, what do? You do time reversal property. You apply time reversal property. Therefore, your step number 1, you apply time reversal property. And in step 2, what you will do? In step 2, you're going to delay by 1, because when you're going from left to right, what you come across is -1. So our plan is to delay by 1. Is that right? So let us apply this. I'm applying step number 1. In step number 1, as I said, time reversal property. So because of the time reversal, we'll get this kind of signal. It would be like this. In step 2, what we need to do? In step 2, what we need to do? Delay by 1. So when they say -1, we do +1. After applying step 2, which is delay by 1, the new response will become like this: -2. That is -3 plus 1 becomes -2. So it clearly means this is your x of 1 minus t signal, which is equal to 0 for t greater than -2. So what I said, just observe this new signal which I got, which is x of 1 minus t, which is equal to 0, as you can see, for t greater than -2. I mean, I'm talking about this right hand side. Is that right? Similarly, we have first component and we'll try to figure out what is second component, and then we will do addition of these two signals and we'll get y of t. And looking at the nature of y of t, we will see what is the constraint on y of t, where y of t is guaranteed to become 0. Is that right? So now I'll try to figure it out how to go for x of 2 minus t. I can write x of 2 minus t as x of minus t plus 2, or I can write this as x of -1 t minus 2. Again, I'm following left to right approach, in which first of all I'll apply time reversal property and then I'll delay it by 2. So I'll remind you what was x of t. So x of t was such signal which is equal to 0 for t less than 3. Is that right? So when you apply time reversal, we'll again get this kind of signal. And after that, I'm going to delay by 2. And to delay by 2, you have to add 2. In that case, I'll get this kind of signal, which is 0 for t greater than -1. So this is your final signal of x of 2 minus t. Finally, what is y of t? Y of t is actually x of 1 minus t plus x of 2 minus t. So we will draw x of 1 minus t and x of 2 minus t, and I'll graphically add them and I'll see where y of t is equal to 0, because that the whole question is about. So first signal, which is x of 1 minus t, if you remember, it was 0 after -2. And this is your x of 2 minus t, which we have derived just now. It is 0 after -1. Is that right? So y of t is actually summation of these two signals, right? So if I add them, I'll get y of t. As I said, shape of y of t is again not important, but we know that definitely it will give me another signal which is absolutely 0 after -1, because this signal is 0 after -1. This signal is 0 after -2. Obviously, addition of these two signals would be another signal which would be definitely 0 after -1. So constraint on y of t that it is guaranteed to become 0 is t greater than -1. So the question was y of t when it is guaranteed to become 0. So I can write final answer as y of t is always 0 for t greater than -1. So this is the final answer. This is one approach you can apply. Another approach which I'll tell you, which is quite easy approach, and I want you people to really go for that approach, and that approach is called as parent and child signal. So what is meant by parent and child signal? We'll try to understand this. As an employee, it is parent and child, means child by default inherits some property from parent only. Like it could be in terms of looks, it could be in terms of, let's say, hairstyle, it could be, let's say, in terms of behavior. Every child takes inherently some property from the parent because of the original genes. Same concept I'm going to use over here. As you can see, y of t is x of 1 minus t plus x of 2 minus t, where can I say that x of 1 minus t is a signal which is derived from original signal x of t. So original signal x of t is called as a parent signal, and x of 1 minus t, which is derived from x of t, is called as a child signal. As you can see, there is another child of x of t, which is x of 2 minus t. I hope you are getting my point. So I'll use this parent and child relationship. So now I can write x of t is equal to 0 for t greater than 3. This is something which is given, am I right? I'm not going to read this as x of t equal to 0 for t greater than 3. I'm going to read this as x of t equal to 0 when argument is greater than 3. I repeat my statement, x of t equal to 0 when argument is greater than 3. What is meant by argument? I'll tell you. Now those who know programming, they must have understood what is meant by argument. Remember, these brackets are called as parentheses, and whatever we mention inside parentheses is called as argument. So what I mean to say is the property of x of t, which is a parent signal, is always equal to 0 whenever argument is greater than 3. Same concept I'll use and I'll try to get this. See, if x of t is equal to 0, definitely some or the other time x of 1 minus t will also become 0. Being child of this x of t, it is going to inherit a property of a parent signal. Therefore, I can claim that it is equal to 0 when argument is greater than 3. Argument is 1 minus t, which is greater than 3. Or I can say 1 minus 3 greater than t. Or I can say that t less than minus 2. So as you can see here, and you can confirm, x of 1 minus t was 0 for t less than minus 2. I'm talking about this figure. You can confirm. So without drawing so many things and making it unnecessarily lengthy, you can use this trick. Similarly, there is another child of x of t, which is x of 2 minus t, which is definitely equal to 0 whenever, again by using the property, argument is greater than 3. Argument is 2 minus t is greater than 3. Or I can write 2 minus 3 greater than t. Or I can write t less than minus 1. We'll just refer the question once again. Okay. In question it is said that x of t is 0 for t less than 3 and not for t greater than 3. So we need to modify a little bit here. So what I'll be modifying is only this sign. Else everything is correct. There is absolutely no problem. Yes. So what they say that x of t is equal to 0 for t less than 3. So we have to use only lesser than symbol over here instead of greater than. So once again, I'll be using lesser than symbol like this. I'll be using lesser than symbol. What does that mean? T greater than minus 2 here. Similarly, I'll be using lesser than symbol. It means t greater than minus 1. So as you can see, like we have already derived, x of 2 minus t was 0 after t equal to minus 1 or t greater than minus 1. So of course, when I'm going to add these two signals, the resultant signal will be definitely equal to 0, which is again y of t for t greater than minus 1. Is that right? So this is the same answer that we have got from the previous method also. Even by using this method, it becomes quite easy. Is that right? I'm sure you have understood this question. The only mistake that we did is that instead of writing t less than 3, we wrote t greater than 3. And again, if you make such mistakes in the gate, then it is going to become a problem for you. So you have to be very alert when you are copying the question. Okay, so let's move to the next question now. So next question says, Let x of t is a signal defined which is non-zero when t is lying between -1 to 2. Y of t is defined as, again as you can see, y of t is given in terms of x of t. It means x of t is a parent and y of t is a child, because y of t is derived from x of t. So x of t is the original signal. Then they are asking you when y of t is non-zero for the width of. So here I'll just request you to pause the video, use the same concept of child and parent signal and try to solve it. And then after resuming, see to it what you have done is correct or not. I'm sure you must have tried. So first of all, we'll write the property of a parent signal. It says that x of t signal is defined which is non-zero. Okay, so x of t is non-zero means not equal to 0 when t is lying between -1 to 2. Is that right? Can I recall this property as x of t is not equal to 0 when argument is lying between -1 to +2. Similarly, now y of t, which is also not equal to 0 when its argument, see, now don't mistake argument as t. The new argument is this. So argument, which is 2 minus t by 2, is lying between -1 to 2. So the new argument is 2 minus t divided by 2 less than or equal to. So now you can shift to here also and here also. You have to shift to both sides. Please remember that. Otherwise, you will shift this 2 to only one side and then it will give you wrong answer. Then -1 into 2 becomes 2. Should be less than or equal to 2 minus t less than or equal to 4. Now this 2, which is plus 2, have to be shifted on both the sides. That's what we do in normal equation. If it is plus 2 at left hand side, while shifting it to the right hand side, we make it -2. So now we have to make it -2 to both sides. So it would be like this: -4 less than or equal to minus t less than or equal to 4 minus 2 becomes 2. Is that right? Now, writing minus t is not at all a good idea. So what we do, we multiply this whole with -1. So this becomes plus 4. This middle one becomes positive t and this upper limit becomes -2. We know that by inequality theorem, whenever we multiply by -1 to both sides, this sign flips. I mean, lesser than becomes greater than. So it becomes greater than or equal to like this. Or I can now in fact write like this: -2 less than or equal to t less than or equal to 4. So it clearly means that y of t is non-zero or not equal to 0 when time is lying between -2 to 4. So can I say this is what we called as upper limit? So this is upper limit and this is a lower limit. And you know that how do we calculate the width? Because what they are asking you is not the time interval, but they are asking you the total width for which y of t is non-zero. We know that width is always higher limit minus of lower limit. So here width is equal to, what is higher limit? It is 4 minus lower limit, and lower limit is -2. So minus of -2 will become +2 and it will become 6. So as you can see, option number A gives you correct answer in this case. Let's move to the next problem. So what is given in this problem? Consider a signal given below. Let y of t, again it is given in something in terms of x of t. Again it is added with 3 by 2. Let width by height ratio of x of t is k1. Okay, read the question very carefully. K1 is width to height ratio of x of t and that of y of t is k2. Okay, so as you can see, x of t is a parent signal, derivation of x of t is y of t, and ratio of width by height ratio for y of t is k2. What you have to find is ratio of k1 by k2, where height is maximum change on y-axis. Assume internal truncation. So I'll make you understand what is the meaning of internal truncation while explaining you the sum. So first of all, what I want ultimately is k1 by k2. In general, what is k? I'll tell you. K is width by height ratio. Understand? When it is K1, width and height belongs to x of t, and when it becomes K2, it becomes width and height of y of t. Is that right? And what you have to find is K1 by K2. So here, if I want to go for K1, this is ready-madely available to me. As you can see, what is the width of this? It is 10. And what is the height of this? As you can, it is 6. So width by height, if you do, which is 10 by 6, so it becomes 5 by 3. So what we have is a value of K1 here. What is remaining is to determine what is the value of K2. So again, K2 refers to width by height ratio of y of t. So what is y of t given? So y of t is twice of x of minus 2t plus 4 plus 3 by 2. We can write it over here. So I'll just confirm this. Y of t is equal to twice of x of minus 2t plus 4 plus 3 by 2. Okay, this is the similar thing they have given. Y of t in terms of x of t. See, we know that ultimately who decides the height of signal? Height of signal is decided by this factor and this factor, because you know that multiply by k and add with k property. Is that right? Because these are the only two things which affects on y. Okay, and y refers to height here. So this is original x of t given. Okay, and now I can say a new height, that is height of y of t, would be equal to 2 into old height. Is that right? Plus 3 by 2. So let us see what is the old height here. Old height is 6 plus 3 by 2. So it becomes 24 plus 3 by 2, which is 27 by 2. Remember, 27 by 2 is not our answer, okay? It is just the height that we have determined. So this is just the height. Let us try to get what is the width now. That is new width I want. So you know that who alters the width? Do you think that this shifting alters the width? No. Who affects the width? Only scaling factor. Is that right? Only scaling factor does affect the width, because shifting only moves the signal from one place to the other without affecting the width. Okay, so as you can see, a scaling factor over here is how much? Scaling factor is what? It is 2. So if scaling factor is 2, what we do is original height gets divided by 2. Is that right? If you don't understand this, I'll try to explain this once again. See, what is given to me is x of, I'm going to make this t coefficient free. So minus 2, if I take common, what remains inside is t minus 2. Is that right? See, there is no point to draw y of t from given x of t. Okay. When we use left to right method, as you can see, first of all, it is scaling factor minus 2. So this scaling factor, see, whether it is minus 2 or plus 2, that doesn't matter. Ultimately, your original width gets divided by 2. So what I really wanted to prove, this scaling factor is 2. So when you have scaling factor as 2, you divide by 2. Therefore, now I would say a new width becomes 10, that is original width divided by 2, which is 5. So you know what? I have a new height and new width now, from which now I can get K2 here. So K2 was width by height ratio. So width is 5 and height is 27 by 2. So it becomes 10 by 27. Finally, I got K2. Finally, I have K2 here. So what they were asking me, that is K1 by K2. K1 by K2. So let us recall what was K1. K1 was 5 by 3. So it is 5 by 3 divided by 10 by 27. I can rewrite this as 5 by 3 multiplied by 27 by 10. So if you solve this, you will get this as 4.5. Finally, given by K2, what they were asking you, it is 4.5 now. So 4.5 is a final answer. As I said, I'll now make you understand what is meant by internal truncation. So now we will understand what is meant by internal truncation. See, suppose we have some x of t like this. This is, let's say, some x of t. Let's say present from -2 to +2, to which it is now added to, let's say, DC level 2. I'm sure you remember, whenever you add some signal with DC, this is what we called as a clamping operation. So when you do so, let's say the original height was 1. Okay. So when you add these two signals, what you get? Final answer or final figure, you'll get it like this. -2 and +2 are important limits for us. See, this DC signal is forever 2. I mean, even after t greater than 2, actually, when DC signal means it is present from -infinity to infinity, right? It is always 2. And this signal, as you can see, it is 0 for t less than 2 and it is 0 for t greater than 2. Therefore, before -2, it is by default 2, and after 2 also, it is by default 2. In fact, now if you see, during the interval from -2 to +2, x of t is 1 and DC signal is 2. So it jumps to 3. Is that right? It jumps to 3. So now, if someone asks you what was the width of x of t, then you can clearly observe and tell me that width of x of t is 4. So width, which refers to x of t, is how much? It is 4. If someone asks you what is the width of DC signal, look at DC signal. Logically, width of DC signal is tending to infinity because it is present from -infinity to infinity. You cannot calculate the width, am I right? Once you add these two signals, you get final answer. Now, what is the final width is the question. Is that right? So now if you see the final width, this will also tend to infinity. Okay. But then if you say width is equal to infinity, it is not countable when it comes to mathematics. Am I right? Because then you cannot calculate k1 by k2 ratio because k was ultimately width by height ratio. If something goes infinity, then it becomes quite immaterial to calculate that ratio, that is k1 by k2. So whenever they say that internal truncation is present, it means after addition of a normal signal with DC signal, the new width is going to remain 4. I mean, this is something that I'm going to ignore. Okay. See, this part I'm going to ignore. This part also I'm going to ignore because my original signal is just getting clamped by 2 to upper level. This is what happens in clamping operation. If the original signal width was 4, then even after clamping, we consider the width equal to 4, provided that internal truncation is present. If internal truncation is not present, then you must go for a new width equal to infinity. So whenever they use a word called as internal truncation is present, it means even after clamping, you don't have to alter the width of original signal. Is that right? Remember, original signal have got finite width, DC signal have got infinite width. When you add infinite width with finite width, of course, answer will be a signal with infinite of width, am I right? Or infinite size of width. But if the internal truncation is present, you have to only consider width of original signal, which is x of t in this case. So what I really meant over here, as you can see, y of t was equal to twice of x of -2t plus 4 plus 3 by 2. Mind it, this 3 by 2 is a DC signal. With how much width? Of course, every DC signal will have width as infinity because it is 3 by 2 for all time. So when such signal which is having infinite width, then width of y of t would be also considered as infinity. But since they have used this word internal truncation, you don't have to consider width of DC, you have to consider width of the original x of d after like scaling effect. So I'm sure you have understood this problem. Problems are very easy. Only thing is you have to just go in detail for every problem. I mean, you have to read every word of the problem very carefully, right? So I'm sure you have understood all the problems. In next videos, we will solve more problems. We'll learn more concepts. Okay. Thank you.